Blog Talk Radio.
Hey, you are now tuned in to 110 Sports Talk. I go by the name Lynn Knack. Hey,
it's the best.
running through the competition, no competition. You don't believe it, turn us up. Sit back and listen. We bringing you the stats, all the breaking news and facts. Want the latest on the biggest trade? Well, this is where it's at. We don't talk it, boy, we live it. Got that all around coverage. From track and field, you name a field, we got it all covered. No diss to Derrick Rose, but we don't talk that bull. Just wait till he get healthy, better watch out for them bulls. Slide over the hockey, shout out to the Kings. Salute to LeBron James, y'all both got y'all rings. Looking for the real, you tune into the best. The sportologist and Mr. CJ Sports is up next.
I want to welcome everybody to the 110 Nation Sports Show. I'm your host, Mr. CJ Sports. You can follow me at CJ Sports 1. You can follow the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. Glad to be here on the 110 Nation Sports Radio Network's number one night. Yes, Tuesday night. We got Patrick Taylor from Line Blower joining us at 10 o'clock to recap some more NFL and preview the upcoming week. And then also we got our very own NHL expert, yes, Izzo in the house, to talk many topics when it comes to the NHL. So looking forward to the opportunity to talk to listen to Izzo. Sorry, I'm just observing idiots on Facebook and talking trash as we're getting ready for Homestead this weekend. So just get sucked up into that and been sucked into watching this number 2 Kentucky versus number 5 Duke basketball game. Kentucky is up 53-45 with about halfway through the second half. So trying to multitask as much as I can, but try to do 20 things here once in the studio. Had a fun show this morning. If you guys have not tuned in the morning, make sure at 8 a.m. you got your alarm clock set for the 110 Nation morning show. Had a fun this morning talking sports, getting everybody ready for the day. Now we're back at it tonight. Don't forget, we got Kayla Lyons joining us tomorrow night. Looking forward to having her back on the show, and looking forward to doing this once again. Don't forget Thursday, Racing with Big Sweats. Got everything finalized. We got the car rented. We got the hotel booked. We got babysitters for the kids. We got babysitter for the dog. Jobs, got the time requested off. The only thing now is Homestead, baby. Yes, the 110 Nation will have their presence known, felt, and recognized this weekend at Homestead Speedway, as we'll be down there for the Xfinity Series race and the Sprint Cup Series this weekend. Looking forward to the opportunity being down there, representing the 110 Nation, getting to experience Homestead for the first time. You know, as a spectator, I've been to Charlotte. As a spectator, I've been to Atlanta. As a spectator, I've been to Daytona. As a spectator, I think I've been to Charlotte like 4 or 5 times. Rockingham once, Daytona 3 times, Atlanta, I've only said Atlanta, I can't remember if I said Atlanta, but Atlanta once, Charlotte a handful of times, Rockingham, Daytona, and as media, I've been to Bristol a few times, Atlanta a couple times, Kentucky a few times, and Martinsville once as media. now I get the opportunity to do a Homestead, put another track on the bucket list. You know, I never would have imagined this. Like, you have no idea. No, don't get me wrong. I'll be 100% honest. If it wasn't for the fact that this was the championship race, Homestead's not one of those tracks that I feel that I want to go out of my way to go to, or feel this overburning desire to go to. I'm sorry, it's not one of those tracks. There's a good handful of them that I just don't really, you know, I'm not going to go out of my way. In other words, I'm not going to drive, because what we're looking at is probably between a 9 and 10 hour drive down Friday to go stop at Daytona, in the Daytona area. My brother stays about 20 minutes from Daytona. We're going to get out. I'm going to get out of work about 1 o'clock. At noon. We should be on the road about 1 o'clock. Should put us in about 10, 11 o'clock Friday night. And we're going to crash there and get showered up, get rested up, and then the Xfinity Series race is like 2:30, so we got to be up like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, be back out the door, and headed to Homestead. So we'd be down there for the media coverage, and then and it's an 8-hour drive from my brother's house down to Homestead, and of course we're going to stay in a hotel Saturday night, about 45 minutes up the road. You know, check out the scenery. Maybe go get something to eat, have a few drinks, and then crash at the hotel, and then be right there for the track on Sunday. And then we're going to try to come back up as far as we can Sunday night before we get too tired and got to stop at a rest stop, get us a little bit of shut-eye, and then continue our way up. But, you know, from point A to point B, from home to the final destination, you're looking somewhere roughly about 18, 19 hours or so, roughly 18 hours or so. So, no, this is not one of those tracks that I traditionally would have drove 20 hours roughly. We'll just say 20 just to be, just to be safe on the safe side, to go to watch a race. And there's not too many tracks. I think, honestly, there's only 2 tracks that I would have made that kind of trip for. And I've been to both of them. Saturday Night Bristol, that was one of the top 2 races on my bucket list, and then, of course, the Daytona 500, which I've been to both. I have done, media for Bristol, and I've been a spectator for the 500, and then, of course, the Coke Zero twice. But because it's the final race of the season, and because I'm media, yeah, even if I was not media, it being the final race of the year, the championship race, if I had tickets or I could have had the money to buy tickets and had an opportunity, yes, I probably still would go. But if it was not the last race of the season, I am not sure if Homestead would be a track on my list. I'm not sure. Nothing against Homestead. There are just certain races the only reason we tune into Homestead is because of the last race. Like I said, there's a handful of tracks that I am not big on Sonoma. Texas is all right. There's a couple other tracks that the only reason I go to Charlotte is many times I've probably been to Charlotte total about 8 times now. It's because it's an hour and a half to 2 hours up the road. To me, it's not the most action-packed race out there. It's not something I got to go out of my way to watch, or go out of my way to go see. If I happen to have it off, or I get free tickets, or part of the media, yes. And I bought tickets. Don't get me wrong. A couple of years ago, myself, my daughter, and Miss Brandy, we all went to Charlotte, and I bought those tickets. I love going to races, but then hour and a half, 2 hours versus 20 hours, and I have the same kind of about the track. It's not happening. But final race of the season, championship race. Yeah, definitely excited about going, having the opportunity. Just the tracks. Knowing that I've been to the historical Rockingham and the last Coliseum in Bristol, Atlanta. And as a matter of fact, the first time I won Atlanta was the first time that Chip Warren won his championship back in '96. It was kind of my senior year thing, and when we got the opportunity, I think going on to finish something like 30th or 35th, clinched the championship. That's when Atlanta was the last race of the season. And then Kentucky, I'd always wanted to go to Kentucky and have an opportunity to be there in Martinsville. Like I said, Daytona, Homestead. That gives me, start a something to get a nice little resume on tracks I've been to. And, growing up, I never, until I was 18, I didn't go to my first racetrack other than the local track. So I never would imagine that I'd be able to say, yes, I've never would have thought that I would have an extensive resume on tracks, and looking forward to continue. Ultimately with this whole one nation stuff, maybe one day I'll see every track. Ultimately that would be the goal. I mean, ultimately I would love to have the opportunity at least one of the seasons to be able to travel to every single track for that year, go to all 36 races. And I know it'll be difficult, especially all the coverage, but, the ultimate dream outside of having a building and having a show 24/7 and actually having a big RV with a big 110 wrap on it, and I could do everything I need to do for the company inside there and be able to travel at least for one whole season and hit all the tracks and get to experience that opportunity. But, at the same time, I want to hit every sporting thing. But, on the NASCAR side, I'd love to have the opportunity to go to every single race. That would be cool. And, of course, we got Miss Lee into Mid-Ohio this year. I would love to have the opportunity to go to Mid-Ohio. I've never been there. It puts me maybe an hour and a half probably or so from home. So, put me, I don't know, about as close as I was from Kentucky, believe it or not. Kentucky to home, the Kentucky Speedway to home was about the same distance as probably as Mid-Ohio to home. I know it's about an hour from where I'm from to Columbus, and I know that, Mid-Ohio is somewhere in the Columbus area, so I'm assuming to take a little bit longer than just an hour. But I don't know. Very, very excited about the opportunity this weekend. Championship race, 4 different scenarios playing out. Kyle Busch, Martin Truex, Kevin Harvick, and Jeff Gordon. Speaking of Jeff Gordon, all the Hendrick cars are going to use that yellow number as their number. Thought that was pretty respectful of the all the drivers in the Hendrick Motorsports stable there. So kind of interesting. So definitely, I thought that would be interesting. Hopefully the weather doesn't affect nothing. Even though I got Monday off as well, I had to use a little bit of vacation time that I had saved up. Even if it becomes a Monday race, noontime won't be done until 3, 4 o'clock. I got to be working 9 o'clock the next day. 20 hours, that's not enough time to put me at about noontime. So I need it to be a Sunday race. So I got rained out at the World of Outlaws a couple weeks ago. I got rained out when Charlotte was supposed to be a Saturday night race. So hopefully Homestead ends up being a go, and hopefully there's no weather issues. That's all I got to say about that. Will we get lucky and even not, just get an opportunity to get away for 4 days. That'll be great. I saw this earlier today, and I thought this was rather interesting. And Danica haters are not going to appreciate the fact that she's not even in the top 5. But crashing is something that happens in virtually every NASCAR race. But what drivers do it most often in this NASCAR, the Sprint Cup Series. Thanks to David Smith's Motorsports Analytics, we can now see how often drivers crash per race. Note that the crash in this case being any spin or wreck that causes a driver to lose a position. It does not necessarily mean DNF in a minimum of 15 starts. I bet you everybody out there could probably guess who number 1 is. I was not shocked at who number 1 was. But the guy that wrecks most often, and I've talked about this a lot, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Not a surprise at all. I think if you would have said any other name, I think that you probably should have been smacked in the back of the head, because really just not a surprise at all. But, yes, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., the guy that wrecks the most. Number 2 on this list, Sam Hornish Jr., a prime example why Sam Hornish never belongs in the Sprint Cup Series. He is nothing more than an Xfinity Series driver. Point blank, without a shadow of a doubt. He is the Jeremy Mayfield. He is the Elliott Sadler of NASCAR, and we could probably name 4 or 5 other drivers easily that has no business being in NASCAR, in the Sprint Cup Series, only belong in either the Truck Series, Xfinity Series, or hell, probably even better in the ARCA Series, the KM Pro Series. Sam Hornish is one of them, and obviously Ricky Stenhouse was another one. I'd be surprised if Stenhouse gets another contract in NASCAR. If he does, it would be to a single car team. I can't see Roush Fenway continuously spinning their wheels and not moving forward to entertain having Stenhouse Jr. in the car. And I can't honestly see sponsors still wanting to line up to put some kind of sponsorship on the car. I mean, outside of wrecking, that's about the only TV time Stenhouse ever gets. So I would definitely be surprised. Number 3 on this list, David Reagan. Kind of surprised, I guess, a little bit. David Reagan never seemed to me to be one that was involved in a lot of wrecks or caused a lot of wrecks or anything. So it's kind of surprised with that. Jeff Burton, already in the top 5, and your career is just getting underway. Jeff Burton, number 4 on this list. And the stats for Ricky Stenhouse is just a little over half a crash per race is what he averages. That's sad. It's sad when you even average that much, but Jeff Burton 4. Kyle Larson made the top 5, surprisingly enough. Him and Trevor Bayne. Trevor Bayne is 6. I was kind of surprised on both of those. I know that Trevor Bayne happens to be involved with some wrecks, but it didn't seem that he had been in that many wrecks. But and nor Kyle Larson. Danica did make number 7, but before fingers start pointing to the 2 of the next 3, which are just behind, and I mean, this list just turns in a different direction. As a matter of fact, her being, part of the 7 through 15 group, kind of opens your eyes on maybe how bad Danica really is not. Number 8, Michael Annette, we'll throw that one in there. That was one of the there's only 2 Disney names left in this group, in this next up to 15, and Michael Annette's one. Jimmy Johnson, number 9, 9th most wrecking driver out of the 41 that they put on this list. In 2015. Let me throw that in there. Clint Boyer, number 10. Justin Allgaier is another name I guess you just kind of throw in there. It's kind of give me at 11th, and is actually tied with Jimmy Johnson, Clint Boyer, and the name after him. So really tied for 9, Justin Allgaier. But Tony Stewart, number 11. This kind of number 12. I'm sorry, Tony Stewart. I guess really not surprised. 13th, Joey Logano. If they threw the number of how many wrecks also they caused, that would obviously put Joey Logano at the top. 14th, Matt Kenseth, and 15th, Austin Dillon. I thought that interesting. That list was very interesting. A few other notables in here for people that wrecked the most in 2015. Dale Jr., 18th. Kurt Busch, 22nd. Now, obviously, the higher you are in the ranks, the better, the least amount of wrecks. Jamie Mack, 29th. So this gets interesting right here. 25th, Denny Hamlin. 26th, Kyle Busch. Martin Truex, 28th. Jamie Mack, 29th. Paul Menard, 30th. And all of them actually, Kyle Busch through Paul Menard all have the same crashes per race stat there, so they're pretty much all tied. Couple names that I'm surprised that are on the lower end of this, in other words, crash less often. Alex Bowman, 31st. It seems like every time I turn around, Alex Bowman is a wrecking, but I guess not. Eric Almirola, another name down here towards the bottom, getting down to 35th. I mean, that's 6th best. Josh Wyatt, 5th best. Brett Moffitt, number 1 driver. I bet you nobody would get this right. Hell, Cole Witt, number 39. Number 1 driver, the least reckoning driver in NASCAR 2015, Landon Cassill, with a .06 crashes per race. That's a lot of conserving there. I mean, obviously not being up to pace and being, way far behind and not having an opportunity to be tangled up and stuff and being wrecked and being spun probably plays into a considerate amount of factor here. But, yeah, the number one least reckoning driver in NASCAR, Landon Cassill. And there's a couple other names up there that I want to throw in there, but I try to get an idea of where Landon Cassill falls as a point and how his performances are. Kind of give you an idea. He barely wrecks, .06. So a very good stats. But I guess it'd be even more impressive if he was even the top 50. How do you compete? How do you compete in 35? I don't even know if I can say. How do you compete in 35 races? You have Eric Jones 3 races, Brian Scott 10 races, Ryan Blaney 15 races. You got Hornaday with 1 race, Kyle Fowler with 1 race, Ryan Ellis with 1 race, Eddie McDonald 1 race, T.J. Bell 1 race, Mike Wallace 1 race, Will Kimmel III 2 races, Ryan Priest 4 races, Brian Vickers 2 races, Michael Waltrip 3 races, Bobby Labonte 4 races, Reed Sorensen 9 races, Alex Kennedy 13 races, Michael McDowell 15 races. I'm going to stop there. I'm not even going to there's only 5 more cars that have less races. Jeff Burton 28 races, Josh Wise 23 races, and I'm going to stop there. But how do you have all these people with 1 races, 15 races, 35 races, and you are 50th in points? How can you possibly be behind about 10 or 15 cars and you've participated in like 30 more races, and yet you're sitting in 56th place? How does that work? 6 DNFs and even went down in the points last week. You went 55th. You competed in 35 races, and you are 56th in points, and there's about 15 guys ranked better than you that you've completed out. There's 15 guys ranked, 14 guys ranked better than you. You've got at least 30 races more than. How is that even feasibly possible? But yes, even though Landon Cassill has participated in 35 races, only 6 DNFs, no top 5s, no top 10s, obviously no wins, zeros across the board, but yet has the best stat when it comes to crashes per race. How's that even possible? Like that's insanely crazy to me to know that it doesn't make sense. Other names. Let's talk about the other 2 names that are key, and the reason why they're part of the Final 4 going into Homestead. In that top 5, like I said, you got Landon Cassill, the least crashing race car driver in 2015. Casey Mears, number 2. I can see that. Casey's a pretty conservative driver. Kind of surprised on the cold whip, but 4th and 5th. Jeff Gordon, and actually 3rd, 4th, and 5th are tied. Jeff Gordon, Kevin Harvick. They are the 4th and 5th least crashing drivers, and obviously with all the top 10s and top 5s that these guys had this year, obviously that is a no-brainer equation there. And for an update on the game, the Duke and Kentucky game with about 4:40 left, Kentucky is up by 14 points, 69-55. I mean, you throw the stats out there, between the two of them, 47 top 10s. I mean, 27 out of 35 races Kevin Harvick has finished in the top 10. Only 8 races that he's finished outside the top 10. Not quite as good for Jeff Gordon, 20 top 10s out of 35 races. But there's a reason why they are in the top 5 when it comes to least most. And Kentucky's just blowing this game wide open as they're up by 16 points. Really not a big shock here. I don't think anybody had Duke remotely close to winning this game. This is what happens when you get a bunch of overrated ACC teams. We watched Virginia lose last night, 6th ranked. I'm sure we're going to see UNC crash here very soon, highly overrated as well. And then now we're seeing to not just lose, but just be manhandled by Kentucky at this point, as they're down by 14 points. And I'm sorry, as I'm watching this game, I have a serious issue when it comes to in the paint penalties. And we got in this discussion, Shorty and myself. She didn't quite understand the ruling. And like I explained to her, she doesn't understand if someone's standing in the way of the ball handler, how the ball handler gets the foul when the guy is just standing there blocking the spot. And I explained to her that, if the defender has his 2 feet planted and is, outside of the circle, then, or the little half moon shape, wherever you want to call it, then, yeah, he has just as much right to that retail as the ball handler. And it's not the most ethical thing, but he has the right. I don't necessarily 100% agree with it. I don't believe in that players should be able to slide in front of somebody, get their feet planted real quick so they can draw a charging foul. But this is where the rule gets really twisted to me. I absolutely, positively hate it when a defender slides into the way and they're not being a defender. When you have both your hands crossed in front of you so you can take a charge, that is not being a defender, and therefore that should not count. That should not count against the offense. That should not be a charge. That should be a block. If you legitimately get your feet planted and not leaning forward, standing straight up, got your hands up, and if you stand straight up, it actually looks like you're trying to make a defensive move, and the ball handler runs into you going to the hoop, then yes, I understand that they have the staying right to the real estate. Not quite 100% happy with it because the ball handler was already going to the hoop 9 out of 10 times. Wasn't like they said, oh, wow, there's a defender standing in the way. Let me just go run towards it, see what happens. Most of the time, the defender slides up in the way. So as much as I'm not really still keen on that because it's all intentional, I know it's part of the strategy of the game, and as long as they put a legitimate effort into it and put their hands up, I am fine with it. But when you have these defenders that get in the way and all they do is cross their hands, they're not trying to be a defender, they're just trying to find a cheap way to get a penalty or a foul that it's not a basketball move, so it shouldn't even count. It should be still defensive blocking. But you stand there in front of the ball handler and cross your hands in front of you and just stand there. I'm sorry, but that should be a block every damn time. There should be no way that should be a charge because that defender was not doing anything defensive. He was just trying to get in the way. And I'm sorry, that's just the way I feel about it. But, yeah, it's a good, exact reason why we have at least 2. And what we got? We got Gordon, number 4, number 5. Kevin Harvick, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 14th was Martin Truex. 15, 16, Keselowski. Like I said, some of those are tied, so, it's kind of thing. But, there's a reason why we got the Final Four that we have. And I just thought this was a really cool stat thing that somebody took the time to break down. And, of course, that, shuts up some of the Danica haters. She's not even in the top 5. And, the numbers being as close as they are, I mean, you're talking 4/10 of a crash per race. And you go all the way down to even Joe Logano, who was 0.31 crashes per race. So, I mean, And that tells you how statistically close they are, and how much that Danica really does not wreck versus what people like to assume and people like to accuse her of being. So, but I thought that was just interesting that as we wrap up the 2015 season, we get ready to watch the championship race this weekend and really get to have fun this weekend. And so I wanted to take an opportunity to kind of pass that on. And like I said, I do a little research today, do a little something outside of doing work. You know, of course, we got to get all the hours. And I tell you what, the race is one of the most hectic weeks for us here at the studio and at the base here. You got to understand, you know, I work 40 hours a week. Shorty works almost 50 hours a week. And then I got at least 15 hours a week. If I do nothing else, don't do no articles, don't do no administrative work, don't do nothing, I'm already looking at 15 hours alone in radio time, and that's not counting prep time and anything else. And then, of course, Shorty has 2 kids. And then, of course, I have my 2 kids that I got to try to fit in somewhere. Got the dog, got the house chores, got all the other stuff. You know, there's a lot of things that go into a factor when you know all this is going on. So you throw that into a week that you've got to consolidate all your work hours in order to be able to have the time off and have, you know, the hours that you require. You got to compact those hours. You got to get them in. You got to make sure, you know, I have to work a minimum amount of hours. Shorty, even though she's a GM, she doesn't necessarily have a minimum when she has to work. It's kind of a mom-and-pop shop. But since I work for a big franchise, we're required to work a certain amount of hours, so we're guaranteed. You know, it's kind of one of those things you're guaranteed. You're going to get so many hours, but you have to work those hours as well. Just because you're guaranteed, you can't say, you know what, I want to work those hours this week. No, you got to work as part of, you know, they're going to guarantee it to you, but you have to work them kind of ordeal. And, you know, tomorrow is my 1-year anniversary at this job, so, you know, I get a whole new slat of, because I only got 8 hours of vacation pay last year. I don't know quite how that works, but which makes no sense, because I know I get like 2 weeks paid vacation, and I think I get sick days too as well. So we'll see how this all goes into effect when everything gets updated after my 1-year mark. But yeah, things get rather hectic here at the 110 Nation. When we got race week, especially on the event Shorty goes. Like, you know, I went to Charlotte a couple weeks ago, 2 hours up the road, not really that big of a deal. Went to Charlotte for the race and the chase, not that big of a deal. But when she's involved as well, like we went to Kentucky, and you're planning to be in a couple of days, and you got to reserve everything and book everything and get packed for, you know, extended period of time. Like this trip, we leave out on Friday, don't get back until Tuesday. So now everything's got to be packed and everything's got to be taken care of, and you know, plans got to be arranged for kids and dogs and everything else. It just makes it to be a hectic week. And unfortunately for Shorty, most of the time she gets stuck with most of the packing and stuff. Thursday I get off at 2, so I'm going to try to do my part to get as much as my stuff together as possible. I always say that, and then what ends up happening is Shorty's off Friday morning. She'll probably get everything together, and I'll get off at 12 o'clock, come home long enough just to double check, make sure she got all my stuff, and get the kids loaded in the car, dog loaded in the car, and drop everybody off, drop her car off, and take off with the rental car and go on. But, yeah, definitely a crazy week. That's the only downside. So then time to come back, you know, 18 hours straight back is basically what we're going to be doing. You're kind of already ready. You need another day off, and your day's just kind of your week's really just getting started. You know, I come back on Tuesday. I'm going to be working Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at least, and putting the other almost 30 hours in that I got to put in. because our weekends, technically Friday morning 7 o'clock, but basically Thursday night, because I hardly overwork on Friday. I'm hoping that this is the case this week as well, that I don't work on Friday. Hoping to be able to recover, and then, I know my weekend's going to be a long weekend to kind of balance it out, since my store manager, normally, I work the weekends. It's kind of my responsibility, and she does this for me. So I know that next weekend I probably won't have any downtime. There'll be a lot of work going on. But that it's always a crazy, calling it crazy. But either way, definitely 32-year-old Laker rookie has become one of the NBA's most entertaining player for the wrong reason. But as much as I love doing it, it really does make it for a crazy long week for us. And going to keep continue doing it. So I'm going to keep knocking these races off the bucket list and continue doing what we're doing. But definitely makes it a crazy, hectic week here at the 110 Nation. LeBron James passes Jerry West all-time points. Big milestone for LeBron James as he continues to do those things that he does so well, and as Cleveland, looks like they might be on their way to winning another game. But one of the things that, as great as the beginning half of his career began, and he had to carry Cleveland on his back for so long, and the Duke-Kentucky game is final as Kentucky had won 74-63, and as much as those points were scored early in his career, I just don't see it being something that is going to continue to be a trend. Yes, 20, 30 points here and there, but we've already seen what Cleveland's game plan is, and that is restricting LeBron James' playtime. It's back to being about 32-ish minutes per game out of the 48. It's not like the old days in Cleveland when he was young and pretty much had to be out there the whole time in order for the Cleveland Cavaliers to even have an opportunity to win a game. But now that they have the skill set and the talent, and even when he was at Miami, especially for the first year or so, there was still a lot of weight carried on. And then he had to deal with injuries and everything else. And unfortunately for the playoffs, we've seen kind of the same scenario last year. But Cleveland has continued to work hard on improving that roster to the extent that what they're hoping is there'll be they be watching or they be restricting LeBron James 19th all-time scoring on the all-time scoring list. Next one to tackle would be Reggie Miller. So good luck to LeBron James on that. I just see it's one of those things that at one point in time I would have seen him continuously, rapidly climbing up that ladder. But now it's one of those things that it's not, he's not putting up the points because he don't have to. No. Got a handful of games going on right now. We got Cleveland up 97-94 with just under 3 minutes left You got Minnesota at Miami. They're up by 80-78 with about 6 minutes left. Atlanta and Brooklyn tied at 88. They are now heading into overtime. New York at home over Charlotte 98-91 with just under 4 minutes left. Denver at New Orleans just finished the third. Denver is up 83-75. Earlier, Washington beat the brakes off Milwaukee by 29 points, 115-86. And later on tonight, Golden State trying to win, go undefeated, go for 12-0 as they play Toronto tonight. Kickoff in about 45 minutes. Ought to be a good game. I think it's going to be Golden State all day long. Home, much better team. But it's Golden State. Golden State, very, very impressive. So, don't forget, here in about 15 minutes, we got Patrick Taylor joining us from Line Blowers. We talk NFL. We got some hot topics we're going to jump into. What's next for the Broncos and Peyton Manning's future? Whedon and Michael out in Dallas. Can they make the playoffs? Patriots without Edelman for the rest of the season. Allen Smith suspended for a year. Just some of the topics that we'll be jumping into tonight. So looking forward to be able to talk those topics and looking forward to having an opportunity to have Patrick Taylor back on the show. Big Papi retiring after the 2016 season. 503 home runs, 9-time All-Star, 3 World Series titles. 2016 will be it for Ortiz, as Big Papi is going to call it quits. That's a very good year. 10:30, we got Izzo joining us, talk Hockey Hall of Fame. I'll check in, chasing Fedorovs, and I know I messed that up, record, power rankings, and much, much more as well. So excited about having both of these guys join me tonight. Looking forward to that. Don't forget, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m., we got the 110 Nation morning show. Monday through Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We got the and Batman has just showed up in the studio. Batgirl, whatever. Yeah. I'm here with the Batman outfit. Just a shirt. We got a cape on. The Batman's cape wasn't yellow.
Batman was on a girl.
The things you see in the 110 studio blows your mind. Dead air. Oh, Lord. Things you see. Things you see never cease to amaze. And it's funny because this is not like the typical studio, so I shouldn't be seeing some of these things that's going on in the studio. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Do. Woman enforced rape at home of Huskers Armstrong. Football players. Police said Tuesday they were investigating a report of a sexual assault at the residence of Nebraska quarterback Tom Armstrong Jr. and stands out receiver Jordan Westerkamp. Officer Katie was that a 20-year-old woman went to the Lincoln Hospital Sunday afternoon and said she had been raped. The woman told police she knows the suspect, and Flood said that the person was contacted. Flood said no arrests have been made. Armstrong told the Omaha World Herald that he, Westerkamp, and another roommate, tight end Trey Foster, have spoken with the police. After talking to us, the police said, "You guys should be fine," he told the newspaper. He also told the World Herald he didn't know why the woman went to police, adding, from what we're hearing, everything was consensual. So, one or two things happened. Either these three guys gangbanged her without her approval, or they gangbanged her with her approval. That's what I'm getting at. You got three guys listed, and it was all consensual, according to reports. So, not to make light of the situation, but that's what ultimately it breaks down. So, obviously, this is not going to be the end of it, and obviously there's going to be an investigation, and obviously that's going to be a side distraction for Nebraska for the rest of the season. Yeah. When your quarterback, standout receiver, and also your tight end, but obviously that's going to be a lot of distraction they don't need, but kind of curious why. One, it makes me wonder why I never went to college. Like, also makes me wonder why all the years that I bounced at college town, what the hell, what was I doing wrong? Bounced for many years there, and, and I understand if I was bouncing now and being about 20 years older, but at that point in time, I was in my mid to late-ish 20s, and you're talking like 27, 28. So I was no more than a handful of years older than, the females that were allowed in our club. So at a minimum, it was a 21 and up ordeal. So makes me wonder what I was doing wrong and why I was not partaking in these any kind of bangs, honestly. But obviously we'll keep our eye on this. But it just makes you wonder when you see reports like that. It just makes you wonder. You don't. The only thought, and I know this is wrong because, excuse me, some innocent female out there could have been legitimately raped, and from the reports I'm seeing, it doesn't look like it was a rape. It was a consensual thing. But when you see a report like this, the only two things that can come to your mind is either she was raped by three guys, or she was gangbanged and someone told, and that was her first reaction. Oh no, I got raped. We hear that a lot. So really wouldn't be a surprising thing. But saw that headline through and figured it was something worth sharing here. The 110 Nation. Cincinnati, I can't believe that they lost last night, 10-6. And more so, the fact that Andy Dalton was butthurt, being referred to as coming like the Red Rifle and leaving like the Red Rifle BB gun, and took great offense to it. Like I'm beyond words with this still. Like it wasn't like he talked about. It wasn't like J.J. Watt talked about Andy Dalton's family or girlfriend or wife. I don't know Andy Dalton's current situation or anything else. It's he referred to him as the Red Rider BB gun, and Andy Dalton goes off the deep end with it. Like he's just been offended to all extremes, and I don't quite get it. Oklahoma 7, Florida 8, Michigan State 9, Baylor 10. I missed the first 6 here, as it looks like the new. I don't believe those are the same rankings I've been looking at the last 2 days, and I'm trying to pull this up real quick while they still have them on there, and they just moved them out of the way. So, yeah, so it's not the same rankings that were up there. So I would like to see what the new top 4 was, and I just missed it. So hopefully they put those back up. Here we go. College football power playoff rankings. We got Clemson number 1. We got Alabama number 2. We got, God, they take it forever to post these things up on there. I'm be willing to bet Ohio State still got to be number 3. They held their opponents to 3 measly points. Yes, they didn't put up 60 points, but they still won 28-3 and only allowed 3 measly points to be scored. And they've still not posted who number 3 is. And I guess they hadn't done the top 6 yet. This is what they're still going through right now because they got 6. Ohio State number 3 is next on the ranking. Is hoping this all gets posted before. Is they're being dramatically slow with this. So potential number 4, who's in? Notre Dame should not be number 4. It should come probably down to Oklahoma State and Iowa. It should be Oklahoma State number 4, Iowa number 5, Notre Dame number 6. The committee puts Notre Dame back to number 4. Not big on that. Still not big on Notre Dame being the 4th-ranked team. I'm sorry, I'm just not big on that. But right now we got Clemson number 1, according to the committee's rankings being released as I speak. Clemson number 1, Alabama number 2, Ohio State number 3, Notre Dame number 4. What's ironic, if it stays this way, Iowa's number 5, Oklahoma State is number 6. If it stays this way, Alabama and Ohio State will go back to play in the first playoff game against each other like they did last year. I find that rather humorous. It could end up being, Ohio State and Alabama once again against each other. So we'll see how this plays out. But those are your rankings right now. Clemson 1, Alabama 2, Ohio State 3, Notre Dame 4, Iowa 5, and Oklahoma State number 6. That is your top 6 right now. As we speak, just released information. So, ironic, and I really hate listening to Herbert or whatever the hell his dumbass name is that thinks he knows everything, and I understand he's an Ohio State man, but he's still an ass clown, and I cannot stand listening to this guy talk. Half the time he doesn't know what's coming from which end and what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. I absolutely positively refuse to listen to any show that he is on, and if he happens to be doing an Ohio State game, most of the time I just leave the game muted, so I do not got to listen to his pompous-ass talk. I know I just dropped a lot of words that the FCC did not approve of, but he just really annoys and irritates the crap out of me. Just trying to keep going. But we got a commercial break we got to take. And on the other side of this, we got Patrick Taylor joining us. being in the local studio here. You always got something going on. Always got something going on. Oh. Tell you what, I was getting real thirsty there for a minute. Now I feel much better. Much better. Got to thank Coke Zero for the terrific product that they put out that provides here for the local consumer. But make sure you hit me up at CJ Sports 1 on Twitter. Hit up the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. If you're not checking us out on Facebook, you can check out my fan page, Mr. CJ Sports. You can check out the 110 Nation fan page, 110 Nation Sports. Also, check out our website, www.the110nation.com. You can also check out our blog site, www.the110nationsports.com. I'm looking forward for the opportunity. We got Patrick Taylor from Line Blower joining us here just briefly. We got some NFL topics we need to talk about. And then, of course, at 10:30, we got Izzo, our very own NHL expert, joining us, as he's got a whole slew of topics to get into tonight as well. So looking forward to having both these guys back on. It's been a while since we had both these guys back on, as we had a lot of issues last week. We got them all resolved. As a matter of fact, we were on 1 out of 15 hours last week. I've already managed to be on 4, now 5 hours already, third way through the week for us here. And looking forward to finish this week out. I think we're going to fall 1 hour short because we still had a bump in the road yesterday morning for the 110 Nation morning show. But we should get 14 out of the 15 hours in this week. And next week we might have another bump in the road because I'll be on my way back from Homestead for the weekend coverage on Monday. So we'll play Monday by ear. And I'm glad Patrick's listening to that. I have to keep you informed, Patrick, as we get closer to the Monday show, as I'll be coming back from Homestead Monday night. So not quite sure on how that's going to play out. But without any further delay, we got Patrick with us. How are you doing tonight, Patrick?
Good, man. How about you? How's it going?
Oh, it's going great. Got all the bugs worked out of the system. 2, 3 days away from pulling out and going to Homestead to do the final race for NASCAR. You don't get much better than that.
Yeah, man, that sounds like it'll be a good time. So enjoy and keep me in the loop. I understand that's a big event for you, so no worries. But got a lot to talk about. Another crazy week in the NFL for us.
Very, very much so. Before we jump into this, though, I got to do it like we do it every week. I want to give you an opportunity to plug what you have going on. So throw out the Twitter, the Instagram, Facebook, everything you got going on, the website, so we can jump into this.
Yeah, it's lineblower.com. Twitter handle is line_blower. Instagram is the same, line_blower. And then like us on Facebook at lineblower. We do sports blogging, outcome predictions for all the major sports, and a little pop culture insights. So anything you hear on the show here, we put on the website, so you can hear reruns and that sort of thing too. So I appreciate that, man.
Always. Love having you on. Love having the opportunity to talk to NFL. A crazy week. I know we got a lot of topics to jump into. Man. Gone on, but why it's still fresh in my mind. Last night's game, I don't know what impressed me more about last night's game. The fact that the Houston Texans beat an undefeated Cincinnati team that we spoke very highly of, or the fact that they held the Cincinnati Bengals to 6 points. That to me, this Houston, we always knew Houston had a good defense, and that's why it kind of shocked me when they wasted their number 1 draft pick to get Jadeveon Clowney when they already had a great defense. They really needed to work on improving that offense with Arian Foster constantly being hurt, Andre Johnson getting past his prime. You kind of didn't know the Matt Schaub situation and how much longer he could go at the quarterback position, which ended up shortly after that being the end of him. So it always puzzled me why they wasted the number 1 draft pick on a defensive player that really was not that good. His claim to fame was the 1 tackle on an undersized running back from Michigan, but it is here nor there. So, we always knew the defense was good, but this Cincinnati team, this was supposed to be the real deal Cincinnati team, and I won't take nothing away from it, just 1 loss. But I was rather impressed what Houston was able to do against Cincinnati last night.
Yeah, it was a pretty wild game. I mean, 10-6, low scoring. Andy Dalton, he had receivers open that he hit. They dropped the ball a couple times. Tyler Eifert being being a major issue for him to hold on to the football. A.J. Green down there at the end of the game was getting bugged by the rookie Kevin Johnson. Just really wasn't Cincinnati's night. Houston made plays when they needed to. T.J. Yates had a heck of a throw and a heck of a catch by DeAndre Hopkins there to put him ahead. Probably one of the best catches we've seen all year there by Hopkins. But, it's hard to really overreact. I mean, I feel like everybody's kind of been waiting for this to happen to the Bengals, for them to kind of finally show their true colors, or maybe, how they've played historically in games and primetime TV or in playoff games, and they definitely showed that last night. The stage looked a little too big. The Houston Texans, who literally just gave up, almost 40-plus points to the Dolphins a couple weeks ago, was able to shut down that potent offense with, Hill and Bernard and Eifert, Green, Dalton, just been until last night. So not to look too much into it. It's the NFL. These games happen. But I think everybody's kind of been waiting for this, for the Bengals to kind of lay an egg, so to speak, and show their true colors, and it happened last night. So they won the first 8. They lose the ninth game. It'll be interesting to see how they react to the rest of the games on their schedule. One thing that I was surprised about is the Cincinnati fans were booing them last night. It's like, man, tough crowd. You struggle to find a good team for so long, and then you get one that goes 8-0 and you lose one game and start booing them. So I didn't think that was very cool. But, it'll be interesting to see how the Bengals bounce back, and the Texans, hey, they're right there tied for first place with the Colts, so that was a huge win for them. They really needed to win. They pulled it out, and we will follow them as the season goes on as well.
Oh, my goodness. I got one more point to point out, but I was scrolling through Facebook as you were talking. and one, it does shock me that the Bengals fans reacted they would, but someone posted that they just heard Walmart will be opening dental offices inside their stores, and underneath it says, I bet there will be an express lane for people with 12 teeth or less. I just about fell out when I saw that.
Yeah, definitely.
But the other thing about that game that I kind of still stuck on, and then we're going to get into the agenda tonight, was the fact that Andy Dalton took such offense to the Red Ryder BB gun. Like, he acted like J.J. Watts had talked about his family or his significant other or something to some significance other than just saying we shut down the red rifle and basically made it look like a BB gun. I mean,
right.
Andy Dalton kind of go over the edge with that.
I mean, yeah, on one hand, he's kind of complimenting the guy by saying, red rifle, that sounds like a gun-slinging, high-powered arm, and they shut him down, so I guess he was a BB gun tonight. I couldn't believe that Dalton. One, it's just knowing J.J. Watt and the personality that he has, it's just the kind of things that come out of his mouth. I mean, it's no disrespect in any way. I mean, they did shut him down. So for him to overreact it would surprise me because, I mean, the things you hear on a football field are a little stronger worded than that. And I actually was starting to get afraid that he might try to compare it, that he was singling him out or, to really step over the line and really feel falsely accused of something. So, yeah, I would have just, if it was me in that situation, I mean, I know he was coming off a tough loss, but make a joke yourself. I mean, say something about Katy Perry or something and let it roll off. You'll be a lot more.
What was even crazier to me about it is in the same sentence, J.J. Watt said that Andy Dalton was a good quarterback or a great quarterback or something, complimented him. I mean, all the things, it wasn't really that big of a shot, and then just like all of a sudden, Andy Dalton act like that was an insult. And I looked up to this great player and this, that, and the other, and this is not a role model. I'm like, dude, like that is not that serious.
Yeah, it was real. It was just weird. I mean, it was a real sequence of events, and it's been all over the news today, and this makes Andy Dalton look even worse. I mean, it didn't hurt. Nobody thinks J.J. Watt's a bully other than the way that he hits the quarterback, which is, absolutely awesome. But Dalton just looks like a pansy. I mean, he looks like he's a spoiled brat back there that, you don't say a word about him. And once you do, even if it's kind of in a joking manner, he's going to, really be offended. So I'm guessing that's not the first time it'll be said to him now that he's made such a big deal about it. So he's really created a bigger deal than it's worth.
we've seen J.J. Watt. Speaking of J.J. Watt real quick, we've seen him put on one hell of a season last year. I mean, he was catching TD passes. He was running back pick sixes. He was having a season that was an MVP type of season. And in reference to that, do you think we'll have a defensive player ever able to win the MVP, or at least in this era of the way football is played, will we ever see a MVP come from the defensive side of the ball? I mean, I don't think the performance on the defensive side gets any better than what J.J. Watt did last year, and yet he still didn't get it.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, you even look at the college level. I mean, defensive players don't even win it in the college level, the Heisman anymore. The game's changed so much that really the MVP or even the Heisman is just an award for the best quarterback in the league, it seems like. The game has changed. The rules have changed. It's harder to play defense. You can't hit the quarterback as much. You can't push the receiver around. As great of a year as J.J. Watt had, Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady and even Tony Romo arguably had better years last year. I mean, the Texans didn't make the playoffs. I think it's really hard to give an MVP award to a player that's team doesn't make the playoffs, because if you're that good, you definitely should be in the final eight. When it comes time to get into the playoffs. So, but J.J. Watt's a great player. So even like you said, he was catching touchdown passes. I don't know if we've seen a better defensive performance in a single season in probably 15, 20 years, and Watt didn't even finish in the top, couple. So I don't know, man. I just don't think the game's geared for a defensive player to win it, and unless a linebacker can have 30 sacks or a defensive back can pick off 15, 16 passes, I don't think it'll ever really be given to anybody but a quarterback, let alone, a defensive player.
I don't know.
I don't think it's right. I don't think it's right.
Yeah. And your whole comment talking about, you got to basically make the playoffs. I don't like that. Yeah, I understand that, okay, if you're that good, you should make the playoffs. But football to me is a little bit different. I understand if you have someone such as like LeBron James, an MVP, you only got four other guys to worry about to kind of carry the weight. NFL is a whole different equation. You got 10 other people on the offense, and then you got 11 other people on the defense. And the special teams and everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that I don't know. I just don't like the direction of it. I don't necessarily think you should have to go to the playoffs. I think that the MVP to me is the most valuable player, a player that your team cannot win without. And obviously, they didn't win a lot of games with them, and I can only imagine what the season would have been like without J.J. Watt. But that is here nor there anyway. So I guess
yeah, and I mean that's a good point you make. The Texans last year, if they didn't have Watt, I mean, what did they win? 2 games instead of 8. It's a good point. I mean, the value is significant in the sense that at least they were competitive. I mean, we were just looking at some historical figures the other day, and it reminded me with Daniel Tomlinson his rookie year, he had a couple hundred yards more than Anthony Thomas from Chicago. He had double the touchdowns, double the catches, double the receiving yards, but Anthony Thomas's team went 13-3. Tomlinson's went 5-11. They gave the Rookie of the Year to Anthony Thomas, and the press likes a winner. They like the attention, and they like to be able to pick those guys that are going to be in the playoffs. So maybe, like you said, not really fair that they have to be in the playoffs, but anymore that has a huge bearing on the way that award's decided. So. Now,
the first of the topics we were supposed to actually jump into, what's next for the Broncos and Peyton Manning's future? And before you jump into this, I'm not going to say that we could debate Tim Tebow all day long, whether or not that was ever going to work or not, and we'll never know. The only thing we do know is that Denver Broncos team was horrible, was going to be probably somewhere between 28th and 32nd that year behind Kyle Orton. The next thing you know, they're in the playoffs, and they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in the first round of the playoffs. That's something that wasn't supposed to happen. And then the next thing we know, okay, now we're going to go with Peyton Manning, Tim Tebow, you're gone. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to focus on now. We're not worried about the future. We're not worried about 3 to 5 years from now. We're going to go all in on a quarterback that we don't even know how he's going to play after his injury and how long he's going to be able to play after this injury. We're going to go win all now. We're going to not even care about our future. And that's where we're at right now. Now, what I think they should have done is I think they should have held on to Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow would have been perfectly happy being a backup quarterback to Peyton Manning in Denver. The fans wouldn't have cheered and gone Tebow crazy like they did when Kyle Orton was there because it was Peyton Manning. Now, maybe this year they might have because the way they performed, but that would have gave Tim Tebow a good 2 or 3 years to learn from one of the best quarterbacks we've seen in our generation. And, at that point they could have made a decision, but at least gave it an opportunity. Instead, now you're looking at the current Denver Broncos, who now, even though they only got a couple losses, I mean, the season's not washed, but in the same game that Peyton Manning all-time passing yard record is benched for probably the first time in his career with 4 interceptions, and he's had already more interceptions in the first half or right at the halfway point in the season. He had all of last season combined. And looks like Brock Osweiler is not only, had to finish the game last week, is going to be your starting quarterback this week. My whole issue with it all is you went all in on the uncertainties. You didn't plan for the future. And I think that's where Denver made their biggest mistake. They didn't put themselves in an opportunity to have a good enough backup that was a legitimate starter, because at some point you knew that Peyton Manning was going to be done. And you needed to make sure you was prepared. And I don't know Brock Osweiler's background or anything, but I from what I've seen so far, it's not like he was ready to step in and lead this Denver Bronco team to the playoffs or the Super Bowl. And so my question to you is, what is the plan for the Denver Broncos? Obviously, Peyton Manning, if he gets another year, that is it. I would be surprised with the nagging injuries and the performance this year. I would be surprised if this was it. I would think that he would do one more year so he can have a farewell tour and get his due respect for what he's done in the NFL and the records and everything else he's done. But if he didn't come back next year, I wouldn't be surprised at the same time. But what at this point, what does Denver need to focus on? Because you're seeing the end of this here right now lineup, and you're now starting to have to really start to focus on the future lineup. What does Denver do at this point?
Yeah, it's a real interesting situation. I mean, first, Peyton, talk about an iconic player who will be remembered as long as the game is played. I mean, he will be in the record books and always talked about. But to watch him this year, you can definitely tell maybe old man time has caught up with him. The ball is not only fluttering, when it comes out of his hand, it's lacking velocity. And this year we've seen him make bad decisions. It's kind of sad to watch the demise of him. But he goes 5 for 20 with 4 picks, and 5 for 20. I mean, 4 interceptions, and that's the first time in his whole career he's thrown 4 interceptions and 0 touchdowns. So it's horrible to watch. I mean, it's kind of sad. It happened to Chris Carter. It's happening to Kobe Bryant in a way now. I mean, all these guys who are ultra competitive and dominate a sport, we unfortunately see nearly all of them dwindle away and kind of go out on a sour note just because they refuse to give up. And it's funny because that's the thing that's made them great for so long, that when push comes to shove, they're going to get the job done. And unfortunately, I don't think they can see it that, it's time. So that being said, it wouldn't surprise me if Manning does want to come back next year. I don't know if Denver will necessarily want him back. He has plantar fasciitis, which is a real nagging injury that he's going to deal with. And Brock Osweiler, I mean, he was drafted by the Broncos, and he was drafted in, the top 60 picks. I think he was a second-round pick out of Arizona State. He's a big-body pocket passer quarterback. The coaches love his work ethic. He's the first one on the field at practice, last one to leave. So they've got a couple of weeks at least to see, one, if he can get the job done. I mean, he didn't look crazy spectacular last week when he came in relief. The situation was a little, meek, but they'll get a look at him. And, I mean, they can't really do any worse as far as productivity goes at the quarterback position this year. I mean, they're lucky to be sitting where they are with the way that Peyton's played. Guy has 17 interceptions. He leads the league an interception, something you've never seen Peyton Manning do. So really, as far as what the Broncos sit right now, hey, they might actually get an improved play just because Manning's been so bad and he's been so banged up. Then they'll have to reassess after the season if Osweiler's performance deems, viable enough to keep him around, or they draft, or they bring Manning back. But you said exactly right. They've paid for a team, didn't do anything really to invest in their future, and in the salary cap area, you just can't buy players and not have some consequence. So Manning's one of the many veteran players that they brought in. I mean, DeMarcus Ware's older, Keith Talib's older, all those guys, and they're making top dollar free agent money. They're not going to be able to, put out the productivity they need to, and Denver has not built for the future. They just built for right now. So I think Denver will be in some trouble, in the next couple of years as they try to actually rebuild their team.
Kind of makes you wonder what's going through Vernon Davis' head. He gets out of San Francisco. That team was falling apart. Thought he was going to a team that was undefeated at the time, looking like, okay, I might get me a ring. Things are all looking good. I'm going to a team, Peyton Manning, all these receivers, and then this team starts falling apart and doesn't look so good no more. I can imagine what poor Vernon Davis thought. He thought he was getting an upgrade, and when it comes to said all that, it might have been just the same to stay in San Francisco.
Yeah, no kidding. Vernon Davis shows up thinking he's going to at least win a couple of games, and he still hasn't seen a W since he got there. So, yeah, who knows? I mean, at least he's in the last year of his deal, so I guess he can at least, if it continues to crumble down around him, he has the ability to go over next year.
Oh, my goodness. The NFC East, the Dallas Cowboys. It looks like Brandon Whedon has been shipped off. Honestly, I would be surprised if any other team picks up Brandon Whedon. I think it would take a very desperate team that is looking at possibly needing with a backup starting right now and needing desperately a third string quarterback as a backup possibly is about the best option I think Brandon Whedon would even have at this time, and I would still be shocked if anybody signed him. Tony Romo's supposed to be back. The Dallas Cowboys sitting 2-7, sitting at the very bottom. You got Washington 5-5, just lost in a nail-biter to New England. Washington coming off of a very impressive win this weekend. To improve their record of 4-5 with the Giants with a bye. I actually have Washington upsetting Carolina, and I have Philadelphia Eagles Mark Sanchez over Jameis Winston-led Tampa Bay. If my picks are right, we're going to have a three-way tie for the NFC East. I even have Dallas winning this weekend as well, but that's still going to keep them a couple games back. Can Dallas, under Tony Romo, there's a lot of confidence out there. And rightfully so. He started off 2-0 with the lineup that is going to be presented to us this weekend. But can Dallas go and run the table and take this division?
It's going to be tough, man. But I didn't think there was really any way, and then I kind of started, 2-7. Any 2-7 team shouldn't have a chance to make the playoffs, but the Eagles have a tough couple games ahead. If they lose one of the next three, they have to play Buffalo, I believe, Carolina still. They have a pretty tough schedule ahead. The Giants have a pretty tough schedule, and the Cowboys play the Redskins twice before the end of the year. So I still think 9 wins will win the division. So if the Cowboys can get to 9 somehow, I think they'll be in there. The Cowboys have some tough opponents remaining too. They still have to play Carolina. They have to play Green Bay. They have to go to Washington, a place they've usually struggled. Romo, yeah, he's definitely going to make that offense score points, but I think the problems are bigger than just Romo. I mean, Greg Hardy has missed meetings again. I think there's a lot of turmoil in the locker room. Jason Garrett doesn't be careful. I mean, he's got young, influential players on that defensive line. I mean, Randy Gregory, who had his own off-the-field issues. I'd hate to see Greg Hardy's antics and his behavior kind of push over to him. But there's a lot more wrong in Big D than just playing quarterback for Tony Romo. Their defense has played well, but given up game-winning drives in the last 3 losses that they've had. So if they run the table, I think they will make it. They do have the luxury of playing the Redskins twice. Sanchez is playing quarterback for the Eagles, which honestly, I feel like him and Bradford are interchangeable at this point. I haven't been impressed with Bradford all year, so I don't think you're going to really lose anything completely off the table by having Sanchez in there. And then, the Giants, who knows what team shows up every week. I mean, one week they can hang in there with the Patriots and, play with the best of them, and then the next week they can give up 51 points. So who knows, man? It's probably the most interesting crummy division I've ever seen. I mean, it gets more attention for teams that are just not very good. And I don't know. So it'll be interesting. But if Dallas can run the table, I think they win. I don't know if they can do that with all the other issues besides Romo being out, to go ahead and make that happen.
It's definitely going to be tough. And like I said, my predictions are right this weekend. We're going to have a three-way tie, 5-5. And I know it's being down here in Carolina, a lot of people, I can't believe you're picking Carolina or Washington to beat Carolina. Why could I not pick Washington? Why can I not be my upset of the week? I'm sorry, but Carolina still playing nobody other than the Green Bay Packers. Now we're getting to a point that this team is so cocky, and they're not that good, but they're that cocky that all we've talked about since Sunday is Cam Newton and his dancing, and that's all he's talked about. Not worried about the Washington Redskins, not worried about the playoffs, not worried about anything else, and that is what the focus is on. And obviously their focus is not where it needs to be. Unlike the Washington Redskins, who once again we watched Kirk Cousins put on a display going 20 of 25 with 300-some-odd yards, 4 touchdowns, 158.3 passer rating. Obviously we're not going to be talking about RG3 for the rest of the year, but they're in a must-win situation. They know that everybody in the East knows that there is only going to be one team. There is not going to be a wild card. Not with Green Bay still sitting 6-3, Atlanta sitting 6-3 as well, and Seattle still looming around. Even though they're 4-5, and whatnot. So I just don't think. I think there's only going to be one team, and I can't count out Chicago as well. And that team is still kind of on a 2-game win streak. It looks like Chicago finally got things under control as well. So I don't think that there'll be two teams out of. I think that out of the East, we're barely going to have a team above 500 as it is. So Philadelphia, Washington, and Giants know that they are in a must-win situation at this point. Of course, obviously Dallas. That's to me that gives me the reason to believe that Washington is going to upset Carolina because the focus and the importance of the game. Carolina doesn't have to win; they can lose this game and still have a 2-game lead over the Atlanta Falcons. And so it is not that important of a game to them as it is to Washington. Washington pretty much has to win. They cannot let the Giants gain separation or allow Philadelphia to jump over them or Dallas even to catch ground, and especially with knowing that Dallas and Washington got 2 matchups, and if Dallas was to pull out both of those, that would put them in a tie at this point, and they can't afford any losses. So, to me, as long as Kirk Cousins can continue putting on the performances we're starting to see him put on, then there's no reason why the Washington Redskins cannot beat the Carolina Panthers. Philadelphia, it is here nor there. 1 week we see one Philadelphia team, the next week we see the next. We same thing with Tampa Bay. So you don't know. So I think Dallas will do it? No, I don't think they'll do it. I think right now, honestly, Giants control the whole East, and losing Victor Cruz but picking up Hakeem Nicks. Obviously, that was a big pickup for them with the loss of Victor Cruz. And it's hard because, like you said, we watched them give up 51 points to a New Orleans Saints team, but then go toe-to-toe down to the last seconds. It was only, if it wouldn't have been for piss-poor clock management with that offense, they would have won that game. What they did at the very end of the game, they gave New England basically the ball back with 2 minutes. They kind of screwed themselves on that. It wasn't so much the defense. Yeah, it was, it was just bad. It was incomplete pass, and I think there was something else that they did bad that caused them to give them New England the ball back when they did. But I honestly think it's Giants to lose. If the Giants can continue to play, conservative, sound football, they can win this division. But if they don't, I think the next team in line is Washington. I don't have enough confidence in Philadelphia. And I just don't think – I think you dug yourself too much of a hole. And we even seen that when Dallas had we know that we even saw that when Dallas had Brandon Whedon and Matt Castle in there. I know it's a different beast with having Tony Romo in there, but you couldn't stick to a game plan that worked. We watched Brandon Weed lead that team in the first half. I think the first game he was in there, and they ran that ball, and they were doing good the first half. Then the second half, they abandoned the whole game plan that worked the first half. And it's just kind of how the Dallas Cowboys are. They don't stick to what works, and they're kind of all over the place. And I honestly think at this point we're going to see an overabundant supply of Tony Romo trying to make things happen, and Des Bryant trying to be at the other end of that. And you're kind of a one-horse pony at this point. Yes, you got Jason Witten, and there's going to be a lot of that in there. But I think that in desperation mode that they are going to use and abuse that to the point that it's kind of like almost Detroit and Calvin Johnson right now. You throw the ball a lot to him, and, the defenses are double, tripling the team, and it's like they still don't see no other receiver out there. They still want to throw to the same receiver. So I think the Dallas Cowboys have dug themselves a hole that they cannot get out at this point.
Yeah, it's going to be nearly impossible, but, gosh, I definitely would have guessed that heading into this week of football, me and your Browns, both my Cowboys and your Browns both be 2 wins each. That'll be interesting to see who has a higher draft pick as we head into the off season, because I got a feeling both our seasons are pretty much done from a fan's perspective. But at least we got this to talk about everything else.
We talked about earlier what the Browns, me and someone else, what the Browns should do, and the two players that stuck out to both of us with the potential the Browns having a number 1 pick, or at least a top 3 pick, was the fact that both from Ohio State and Zeke Elliott coming out of Ohio State. And it was kind of projected. We didn't want to go early with the quarterback. Obviously, the plans are for the rest of the year, Johnny Manziel, and then going into the next season, starting Johnny Manziel. And that's what I want them to do at this point. Josh McCown's done had his opportunity to go ahead and ship him back in. It's kind of what Josh McCown's career has been like. I would like them to draft a quarterback that potentially is good enough to replace Johnny if Johnny does not do good enough for the Browns. But with this draft being so heavy in quarterbacks, that is a second and third round possibility that still could play to the level of Johnny Manziel. Running backs have been so few far and in between. If I was the person making the decision in Cleveland, if it came down to Bosa or Ezekiel Elliott, I would have to go with the running backs. We don't get too many running backs that perform at the level that needs to be played in the NFL. And the Browns, I don't think we've had a good quarter or running back really since the days of Feiner and Kevin Mack. I'm trying to think if there's any other legitimate running backs we've actually had since then. Defensive players, you kind of get a dime and a dozen. They're maybe not to Bosa's caliber, but there's been a lot. We've drafted a lot of those great defensive players, and either we send them back in or we ain't using them right. So, if I had a choice, I would want Elliott. I would want a solid running back to give Johnny Manziel the best opportunity and then continue working, add maybe another piece to that receiving core that is, a decent receiving core as it is. And then, the defense has always been pretty sound. Not great, but pretty sound. You can always pick up a piece here or there to improve your defense, but I think that to help Johnny Manziel out, and it was even thrown out the possibility for the fact that Cordell Jones was going to be coming to the draft, get him a second or third round, and then you reunite those two. The Browns could have themselves in a good situation as long as they do this right.
Yeah, and hopefully they will. I mean, they can learn from some of the mistakes they've made in the past drafts, and hopefully they can hit on a couple of those skill players. And hey, I mean, who knows? Manziel might come out and in the second half of this season light it up, and they can get a quarterback, like you said, in mid rounds that's capable of being developed at least. And man, the way Zeke Elliott's been playing, I don't know who wouldn't be happy to have him on their team, especially if you look at what Todd Gurley's been able to do in his rookie years. So, I mean, a good running back will only make that quarterback better. So, definitely a good game plan for the Browns, I think.
Oh yeah, so it's got to be hard for Johnny Manziel when you really don't have a legitimate running game, and you're back there and basically a rookie quarterback. Yeah, you played a couple games last year, but he's much better than he was last year, but with no actual serious threat of a balanced attack. The defenses are, you ain't running that ball, and if you are running that ball, you ain't going over with it. But we got two more topics we got to get to real quick before we get you out of here. Patriots without Edelman for the rest of the season, how big do you think that's going to be for the New England Patriots? And Alden Smith got suspended once again, in trouble. It's kind of why the 49ers got rid of him. What's the details on that? And do you think Oakland waits it out and brings it back, or do you think the days in Oakland are now done as well?
Yeah, let's start quick with the Patriots. Edelman's going to be done for the year, it looks like. Let's not forget the Patriots lost Deion Lewis a couple of weeks ago, so that they're losing two of those dynamic players. Julian Edelman was the only player on that Patriots team that's ran left outside receiver, right outside receiver, also ran out of the slot, and he's also ran routes out of the backfield. So he's pretty much done it all for the Patriots. He was going to be a big plan of offsetting the loss of Deion Lewis. But luckily for the Patriots, they've got Tom Brady and they got Gronkowski there that can do so much. So I think they'll be just fine as long as Gronkowski stays healthy and as long as Tom Brady stays healthy, as long as Bill Belichick's still the coach. You got those three dynamic players who are about as good as what they do as anybody in the world, as far as that goes. So I think the Patriots will still be okay even without Edelman. The Aldon Smith thing is interesting. One of the reasons I kind of even had put it on the list tonight was we look at Aldon Smith, and gosh, when that came out in August at the DUI, and it was the fourth arrest in a year, everybody was harping on him. But he goes, and the 49ers release him. He signs with Oakland, and we haven't really heard from him. You haven't heard anything about Aldon Smith, and I wish Greg Hardy would kind of take a page out of the guy's book and just shut his mouth. If you just play football and don't allow all the extra, curricular activity to get the attention, people actually quit talking about you. So, maybe Aldon Smith in the last couple months has been able to kind of figure stuff out. He will be suspended for a year, but I think it's important for a guy like him to stay in the Bay Area. Maybe he's found a good support system with Oakland. They have a good team, so I think he'll serve a suspension. Hopefully he stays out of trouble. I think Oakland will put him on an incentive-based deal, and he'll continue to rush the passer. I mean, he's only 26 years old, so by no stretch of the imagination will he lose a step in that year, but he'll be away.
We'll definitely keep an eye on that, and we'll definitely see if Aldon Smith comes back or what his fate is with the NFL and Oakland Raiders. As always, glad to have you here. I will definitely keep in touch with you on Monday to let you know where we are and if we're going to have a show Monday night or not. With us traveling back from Homestead Monday. You enjoy the rest of your week. We'll definitely keep in touch.
You too, buddy. Enjoy your weekend. Be safe, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Have a great night. That was Patrick Taylor from Line Blower. We get him on every Monday at 10 o'clock until 11, and then every Tuesday from 10 to 10:30. I'm looking forward to hopefully having him back on next Monday night. It all depends if we get back from Homestead in time to have a show Monday night. I know that we will one way or another have Rubbing is Racing at 7 o'clock. Either I will do it live on the road or I will pre-record it before I leave. But either way, being firsthand at the track, there will definitely be a 7 o'clock show, Rubbing is Racing, so make sure you guys check that out. Without any further delay, we got Izzo in the house, our very own NHL expert. Izzo, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty well, Jay. Been fighting off a flu here for the last couple of days, finally getting over it. So thank God I got hockey to keep me company while I've been coughing my lungs out the last 4 or 5 days. And, it's been a good weekend. Got Thanksgiving coming up. Going to be making a trip home for that. So I'm kind of pretty excited for that. And got a lot of good hockey that was being played tonight. So can't ask for too much more.
I got a question, and this is just because I saw this, and I want to get your opinions on it and how much of a change this is going to be. But NHL All-Star Game Scraps format is now 3-on-3 divisional tournament. Do you know the details? I don't know how long ago this came out or if you had the chance to look into this, but it seems that they're changing the format when it comes to the All-Star. It's been long rumored that the NHL All-Star Game was going to undergo its every few years makeover with a 3-on-3 format being implemented. Yeah. I'm not going to try to say that word. Next January in Nashville. Do you know anything about this and any details on it?
Well, this is fairly new, Jay. This is one of the many things that the NHL has been talking about The format has it's pretty much been the same, 5-on-5. Recently they just started picking captains and having captains pick teams. And that's been kind of interesting. So you got the elite, hockey players of the NHL that were, being drafted by their respective team captains and everything like that in the All-Star game. I haven't had much to look into this, but or much time to look into it. But I am actually kind of intrigued by this because, for the past, few decades, the All-Star game has been pretty much the same. It's the cream of the crop getting together and scoring, anywhere between 50 to 60 goals, in a game, which is, it can be exciting, but, it kind of takes away from the game. These guys aren't really playing physical, you know what I'm saying? It's the All-Star break. They're only out there for the fans and everything like that, so they don't want to see anybody get hurt, too badly or anything like that. So, the physicality's down. It's more finesse. More, amazing stick handling aspect of the game, passing, just pretty much trying to make the game as pretty as can be pretty much during the All-Star break. So I am going to look into this a little bit more. I'm kind of intrigued by it. It could be very interesting. So I will be, next week I will be talking about that on next week's show. So tune in next week to find out.
This is what I'm reading, and then I want to talk about the All-Star real quick. I'll let you jump into it. It says there's going to be a 3-on-3 mini-game format for the All-Star game. The National Hockey League Player Association recently signed off on that format, and the expectation is that the league will be making some sort of formal announcement about it tomorrow. What we believe to be the case is that the fantasy draft will be dead. Instead, it will be 4 divisional teams, 9 or 10 skaters apiece, a couple of goaltenders. The 2 teams in the Eastern Conference would play a 20-minute mini-game. The 2 teams in the Western would also, and then you would have the 2 winners play in a 20-minute mini game. We've seen the excitement of what the 3-on-3 has brought with the new overtime situation in the NHL. So this ultimately, to fans that is new to the sport, such as myself, that has enjoyed the 3-on-3 action, this would suck me into watching the All-Star game even more so. But what I would like to see, obviously, there's no significant outcome or reward or anything to come out of this on the All-Star game. I think that's where some of these sports, such as the NHL, NFL, and NBA, drop the ball. MLB, the winner of the All-Star game gets home field advantage in the World Series. NASCAR, you get $1 million for winning the All-Star race. There is a significant reason to want to try. And I think that's why a lot of people don't care about the NBA All-Star game. That's why a lot of people don't care about the Pro Bowl game, because there's no big deal. They're not out there to play, put on a performance. And I understand it's an All-Star game and worry about injuries, but that is a game that, if you want people to watch and be, sucked into wanting to watch, such as baseball, such as NASCAR, you've got to have a reason. And I wouldn't care if every sport did the same thing that Major League Baseball did. Whoever wins the All-Star game, they get home field advantage in their respectful championship game, or even more so, like the NFL. I've always talked about this. Let the winner go back to being the NFC versus the AFC, and whoever wins, whatever next Super Bowl location is up for grabs, let them get the destination. In other words, let's say that they plan it out 5 years ahead of time. So this year's Pro Bowl winner, if it's an AFC team, whatever locations it is narrowed down to be your location, the next Super Bowl that you're planning for, now has to be an AFC location. If the NFC, any of those possibilities are now out of the option because the AFC won the Pro Bowl. I think that given an incentive to win the game and actually try, would make the attendance, the views, and everything else dramatically change. But I feel like the idea of this 3-on-3 and hell, even this 2 teams in the East versus 2 teams in the West, and then you go at it and have one final All-Star game. That kind of changes things up and makes things interesting.
Yeah, it definitely will. I mean, if you have, like you said, you're going to have your two teams in the East that's going to play a period. You have your two teams in the West that are going to play a period, and then the winner of that is going to play the third period. So I mean, you're still technically getting a whole game. You still technically have a whole team, except it's just going to be broken down a little bit more. You could have the likes of, in the East, you could have Crosby, Malkin, and Ovechkin on the same line. Or you can have Taves with Tarasenko and, Zach Parise. You know what I'm saying? It could get – it's got the potential to be very, very, very exciting. I feel right now, and I feel, for the past 20 years since, I've been old enough to, understand what's going on. People generally – most of my hockey buddies during All-Star, break – it was the skills competition that we wanted to watch. The fastest skater, the hardest slap shot, the most accurate, the best goaltender one-on-one on breakaways and everything like that. And I think that's what most NHL people that are diehard NHL players, that's what they look forward to. The hardest slap shot is probably one of the biggest events during the All-Star break. With guys like, Zdeno Chara and Shea Weber and Alex Ovechkin who can crank the puck, over 100 miles an hour. And that's one of the highlight, things about the All-Star break. But I think, switching it up like this is definitely going to be a good thing. It's definitely going to be an exciting thing. I'm kind of shaking, just kind of, picturing it in my mind. It's kind of, I'm stuttering here a little bit. So it's like, it's that new toy that you're going to get, but you just can't have it yet because it's not your birthday yet. So it's going to be an interesting format. I do believe that it'll be, foolproof. I think fans are going to really get behind this. I really do believe. If we look so far in the overtime, I think over 70% of the games that have been played so far have been decided in that 3-on-3 regulation or 3-on-3 overtime period. So, shootouts are down this year. The 3-on-3 has been, immaculate so far. Fans have really been enjoying it. Commentators, have been enjoying it. Even guys on ESPN and everything like that, and the guys at NBC Sports that cover it, they're loving this 3-on-3. Wide open rink, a lot more crisper passes, a lot more crazier things that are being done and seen on the ice. So, like I said, I'm kind of chomping at the bits to really kind of see this. So I'm going to be looking into this a lot more, especially with the with the overtime and everything aspect that's been going on. So I do believe that the NHL has come up with a pretty good idea, and it shows me that that Gary Bettman knows what he's doing, even though he is not generally liked around the NHL as the commissioner of the league. So it's going to be interesting to say. Like I said, I'm just pretty much like an excited kid. When I first got word of this, it was, you kind of got the chills. Like, there's a lot of potential. Guys are going to be mixed matched with different teams that play against each other in their respective divisions. There's, the Central Division in the West, the Metropolitan, even the Atlantic Division in the East. There are guys that, you could only imagine if they played on the same team, what could conspire on the ice. So I believe that fans are going to be in for a treat. Like I said, I'm looking forward to them making everything public about what's going on. So it's going to be a sight to see, Jay.
Most definitely will. What we got on tap tonight?
Well, another thing I want to bring up real quick. This is the other topic that the league has been talking about. A lot of the GMs have been meeting, and some of them are trying to decide whether they want to increase the size of the net or decrease the size of goalie pads in the league, around the league right now. So that's become a very hot potato topic right now. Some teams are, for making nets bigger. Some teams are for making goalie pads a lot smaller. It's going to be something that's going to be decided here fairly shortly. I'm not entirely too sure when. I would imagine within the next couple months we should hear something solid about that, about what the GMs want to do and everything. So, and the only reason they want to, try and change these aspects right now is just due to the size of goaltenders today. If you look back 15 years ago, Archer's Urbe was probably 5'7". You didn't see a lot of guys that were over 6 foot that were in the net back in the early 90s and late 80s and even into the mid 90s too. So I mean, today you got goalies that are 6'4", 6'5", even 6'6". The guys like Devin Dubnyk, Ben Bishop, James Reimer, Scott Darling, even Mike Smith. These guys are 6'3" and above. Goalies are getting a lot bigger, and with the pads that they're set on right now, and it's really working out for today's goaltenders. And I think this is just a way for GMs to try and increase more offense in the game. Equipment is always changing, especially in the stick area, for faster and harder shots, crisper passes. I think it's just them trying to mold the game a little bit more, and it kind of worries me. I would not like to see the goalie pads go down, just as a goaltender myself. That can be very dangerous. Goalie pads were actually a lot smaller, back in the early to mid 90s and everything, and they've grown a little bit to, compensate, goalies not taking pucks off the top of the kneecap or in a small, unpadded, unprotected area, especially around the neck, the base of the neck, collarbone area. That's a very exposed spot. Like I said, the top of your kneecaps, even the inside of your foot and outside of your foot, with goalie skates the way they are today, with all that Kevlar around your boot. You take a shot in the foot, I mean, yeah, it kind of absorbs a lot of it, but it's like having your foot in the bell or having your head in the bell when someone takes a sledgehammer off of it. The reverberation from that puck, man, it could send chills down your spine and drop a few tears out of your eyes. So I would not like to see the goalie pads get too small if they do that. Like I said, them pucks are moving anywhere from 70 to 118 miles an hour. So, and that's a lot of velocity for something that doesn't weigh, more than a pound, so, and it being on ice, it's already frozen and it's vulcanized rubber, and trust me, Jay, when it hits you, you'd like to pray that it hits you somewhere where you have padding. If not, it's going to be a rough morning trying to get out of bed. And that's the thing, GM, these are the two biggest issues right now in the NHL with the GMs is this all-star format and, the net size and goalie pad size discussion. These are the two biggest topics in the NHL right now. And I wouldn't mind seeing bigger nets. Bigger nets might be the better answer instead of, giving less protection to goalies. So it's a rough position to play goalie. You got to be pretty insane to want to strap up 70 pounds of body armor and let people just shoot vulcanized rubber at you in any way, shape, or form. So hopefully the league will have a decision on these on this issue here pretty soon, and hopefully I could be the one to break it to everybody, and we're looking forward to that. Excuse me, but since we didn't have the show last Tuesday, I kind of wanted to go over the Hall of Fame inductees. This was a pretty good class that we had this year. Two of them, which were teammates for a very long time in Detroit, won a couple cups together, are pretty much, we're pretty much the faces of the franchise in the mid to late 90s, even into the early 2000s. Highlighting this list would have to be Nick Lindstrom. Nick Lindstrom is a 7-time Norris Trophy winner, is the best defenseman in the league. Over 1,500 games. He's fourth among D-men in games played. Recorded 1,142 points, and he was sixth among defensemen in that category. 4-time Cup winner with Detroit. First European-born and trained player to win the Conn Smythe Trophy as the playoffs' most valuable player, and also the first European-born and trained player to captain a team to win the Stanley Cup. So, congratulations to him. That's a pretty good feat for the Swedish native Nick Lindstrom, who spent his whole 20 seasons in Detroit and was captain there for a little while after Stevie Yzerman retired. So it was really nice and really cool to see Lindstrom into the Hall of Fame. Standout guy, does a lot with charity. Still lives. I believe he still lives in Detroit. Makes appearances all the time in the Joe and everything like that. Real big fan favorite, and one of the better offensive defensemen that played in the league. So it was good to see Nick Lindstrom get in the Hall of Fame. Following him would probably be another personal favorite of mine, Sergei Fedorov, who played 18 seasons, has over 1,200 games in his career, 483 goals, almost 1,200 points in his career. Another crazy stat: he has 176 points in 183 playoff games, which is almost a point a game, which is quite astounding. He was part of that Russian five that defected over from Russia to come and play in the NHL. Fedorov, Igor Larionov, Vyacheslav Kozlov, Vyacheslav Fetisov, Vladimir Konstantinov, that big Russian five for Detroit, put a lot of points up and played a lot of good hockey for him. Won 3 Stanley Cups with Detroit, 3 of them being with Nick Lindstrom before he moved on to another team in his career. 3-time Olympian for Team Russia. Now he is tied with Alex Ovechkin, who tied his record for most goals for a Russian-born player. Last week Ovechkin actually did it, and I think just under 442 games, I do believe, 442 less games to tie Fedorov. So congratulations to Ovechkin, and Fedorov even congratulate him too, which was really cool. Ovechkin and Fedorov, fellow countrymen from Russia and everything, even got to play together in Washington there for a little bit at the end of Fedorov's career. So congratulations to Sergei Fedorov. Chris Pronger, another guy that I really like. One of the better big men that played in the league, 18 seasons. The second only to win the Hart Trophy and Norris Trophy in the same season. The only other guy to do that was, no one big, just a guy named Bobby Orr. That's pretty astounding in itself. Pronger had over 1,100 games in his pocket. 2-time gold medalist with Team Canada. Was really the mule and the bull on any team that he played. Two seasons averaging over 30 minutes of ice time, and then from the 98-99 season to the 2009-2010 season, averaging over 25 minutes of ice time, which is astounding, really, because that's almost half a game there. Very physical guy, could really use his body in a manner that really scared a lot of people. Pretty heavy shot from the point. Fortunately enough, made it to the Stanley Cup twice, but it did not really work out for Chris Pronger. So congratulations to him. Phil Housley came in next, another fan favorite, or another personal favorite of mine. Had 21 seasons in the league as a defenseman, over 1,200 points in just under 1,500 games. The fourth most points among ended defensemen in the league. He had 12 seasons of at least 60 points, which is astounding, even being for a defenseman in the era that he played in, with all the offense and everything like that. And he is second in the most points category for American-born players in the NHL, only second to Mike Modano. Anybody knows who Mike Modano is. So Phil Housley was a tiny guy, not very big, known for having one of the harder shots in the league too. Could really rocket that puck from the blue line, 50, 60 feet out. He could hit the net with some velocity. So congratulations to Phil Housley too. Angelo Ruggiero, another was the next one on my list that I really liked too. 4-time Olympian for Team USA for the women's team. Was part of the 98 Nagano team when they won gold. 2004, the Patty Kazmir Award winner for best player in the NCAA women's ice hockey world, 4-time world champion, and won second place 6 times with Team USA. So she had an outstanding hockey career too. Too bad that the NWHL wasn't around back in those days, because she could have been, she could have been compared to people like Gretzky and Lemieux and some of those guys and everything like that. So, congratulations to her. Peter Carmenos Jr. Was the next one. He's been involved for hockey for, I think over 4 decades now. Started the CompuWare youth program for young kids, doing hockey training and everything. Has been an owner in the OHL for quite some time with the Plymouth Whalers, which actually was the first OHL team in the Ontario Hockey League. They were the first U.S. team to join the OHL, which was pretty cool. Mr. Carmenos actually bought the Hartford Whalers of the NHL in '94, and anybody who's down here near the Raleigh area knows that he moved the Whalers down here to Raleigh to become the Hurricanes, later on winning a cup a few years later, I do believe in 2006, if I'm not mistaken. So congratulations to Peter Carmenos. Bill Hay was the last one to round out this Hall of Fame week this past Monday. Bill Hay is actually the first NCAA graduate to ever play in the NHL. He debuted back in 1960 with the Blackhawks, which is pretty cool. Also was president and COO of Hockey Canada. Anybody up in Canada or close to Canada knows what Hockey Canada is. It's almost like a religion up there. So, and also he was the president and CEO of the Calgary Flames for a while, and recently was a chairman of the Hockey Hall of Fame. So congratulations to our 6 Hall of Famers, and hopefully we'll see some better names next year. And hey, there's still a lot of people that are going to be eligible for next year, and I'm just kind of doing my own research and homework on that one too, to see who can possibly get in this year. But this is one of my favorite Hall of Fame years, especially highlighted with Lindstrom and Fedorov. God knows I've watched many of Red Wing games with those two. Nick Lindstrom, Fedorov, Mike Vernon, Stevie Yzerman, Brendan Shanahan, all those guys. I love watching those guys, especially when Detroit beat Philly in the Stanley Cup in 97, if I do believe, if my memory serves me correctly. I could be wrong. But so it's congratulations to those guys and ladies. Please don't let me forget about that. Angela, she was a hell of a hockey player. So congratulations to them guys, and hopefully next year could be just as good of a list, Jay.
There we go. It's always good to hear about, especially someone that has not been an NHL fan for that long, to get opportunity to hear about some of the history and some of the important athletes and important pieces to what makes the sport to be so great. So when you told me that you're going to be talking about the Hall of Fame, I thought it was really cool just for the fact that I get to be educated on some of the important pieces and important figures throughout the history of the sports. It's always cool to hear this kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. So also tomorrow with Wednesday Night Rivalry coming on, games to watch for tomorrow, even though there's only 3 of them. Washington will be skating into Detroit to take on the Red Wings. Vancouver is also going to skate into Winnipeg at 7:30. One game that should be pretty exciting is the Blackhawks taking on Edmonton at 9:30 tomorrow. And I also wanted to give a quick shout-out to your Columbus Blue Jackets, who have seemed to have turned that ship around, if I do say so myself. I don't know if you caught that they did beat Pittsburgh the other day, a little 2-1 loss for Pittsburgh. So hopefully you got to watch that one a little bit. I was a little personally stung by that one. So Columbus has seemed to, I think, if I'm not mistaken, won 4 of their last 5 games. And has slowly started moving up a little bit in the points race. So I'm glad to see that the John Tortorella move is really working for him right now.
I see they've won 6 out of the last 10 on a 3-game win streak and got 14 points. So They're tied with Carolina right now, so they're starting to work themselves out of that.
Actually, they won tonight too, 3-1, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. Over St. Louis.
Yep, over St. Louis. So they've seemed to found a little bit of a game, and hopefully they can keep riding this good wave of good fortune right now. Their penalty kill has been outstanding. Even their power play has been outstanding. I think Brendan Saad has been worth every dime that they signed him for. So hopefully they can keep this wave of good things going, Jay.
Yeah, he scored twice tonight, so obviously definitely a good thing for them.
So other than that, it's been an exciting time in Columbus. So not only with the Buckeyes and everything, but now the Jackets getting on a roll, especially before the new year rolls around, which is kind of important. It's good to have a face and an identity for your team, especially if you're going to try and make a late playoff push run. So hopefully that'll keep up for them.
Well, as always, I want to thank you for coming on and hooking us up with some good NHL talk. I'm definitely looking forward to having you back on next Tuesday night. Before you jump off plug your Twitter handle. That way those that want to get a little more in-depth talk with you or just follow you or want to, just poke at you for the hell of it, they have the opportunity of doing that.
Hey, you follow me at 110 Puckhead. So please do not be afraid to, shout out. Let me know who you're rooting for, who don't you like, who you want to see, beat who up. Let's hear it. Send me some good footage or some good video, big hits, amazing goals, great saves. So follow me at 110 Puckhead. I'm down for a conversation, down for a good debate every once in a while about hockey. So looking forward to hearing all your tweets and everything like that.
Yes, sir. Like I said, we'll be catching up, and as a matter of fact, I'll hit you up in the next couple of days. I got to get that to you. We're still riding around with that in the car that we've still not passed on to you, so we'll definitely get in touch with you before we go out of town. You have a great week, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Yeah, you too, Jay.
That was Izzo, our NHL experts. I love that's what makes Tuesday night one of the best nights on the 110 Nation Sports Radio Network. Having him and Patrick Taylor to talk NFL, it doesn't get any better than that. I'm looking forward to tomorrow night. We got Kayla Lyons joining us. We got NFL picks. We got the final show of the week, and then we start looking forward towards Homestead. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow night. Make sure you guys follow us on Twitter. Myself, you can follow at DJ Sports 1, the 110 Nation. You can follow at 110 Nation. Like us on Facebook. Yes, we like to be liked. You can like my fan page, Mr. CJ Sports, or you can like the 110 Nation at 110 Nation Sports. Check us out, our site, www.the110nation.com. Check out our blog site, www.the110nationsports.com. We'll be back on the air tomorrow morning for the 110 Nation Morning Show at 8 a.m. And then, of course, tomorrow night, the 110 Nation Sports Show kicks off at 9 p.m. So tomorrow night, you guys have a great night.